My phone buzzed with a WhatsApp notification. I picked it up, expecting yet another, working late, excuse from Matt. Instead, what I saw made my fingers tremble. I'm done with you. Moving to Seattle with my new girl. You might want to check the savings account. Have fun being broke. I stared at the message, stunned but not surprised. My thumb hovered over the screen, then I typed back. Good for you, thumbs up. I set the phone down and smiled. The arrogant fool had no idea what I'd been preparing. My name is Hannah Brooks, and at 51, I've spent 25 years married to a man who started cheating on me somewhere around year 8. We live in Asheville, North Carolina, with our 2 kids, Lily, 17, and Evan, 15. I built a stable career as a financial planner, while Matt climbed the executive ladder in marketing, collecting stock options, and apparently mistresses. What I want isn't revenge, it's justice. I want stability for my children, what I'm legally entitled to, and for Matt to feel the consequences of betraying the woman who supported him through everything. What's standing in my way? Matt still thinks I'm the naive, forgiving wife who shrinks at confrontation. He's convinced I'd never suspect a thing, let alone fight back. His message wasn't unexpected. Actually, I'd been counting on it. For the last 7 months, I've been quietly preparing, tracking every late-night hotel charge, cross-referencing travel records, even matching email aliases to dating profiles. And then there's Sierra, the 24-year-old graphic designer he just ran away with. Matt has no clue I hired Sierra myself. 3 months ago, I created a fake company and listed a remote design gig. Sierra applied, and I offered her the role, with a generous monthly retainer, courtesy of my personal funds. Her only real assignment? Be irresistible to Matt. He didn't hesitate. My phone buzzed again. This time it was from Rick, the private investigator I hired 2 months ago. Flight booked. First class. Seattle. Tomorrow morning. She's meeting him tonight like we planned. Perfect. Everything was unfolding exactly how I'd intended, except for one thing. I opened my laptop and logged into our joint savings account. My heart dropped. $220,000 gone. Withdrawn just a few hours ago. So he hadn't been bluffing. That amount was significantly more than I thought he could legally move without my signature. What else was he hiding? Matt and I met in grad school. He was the magnetic, ambitious guy everyone admired. I was working toward a degree in journalism, full of dreams and fire. We got married 2 weeks after graduation, and when he landed a lucrative job in Boston, I put my career on pause and followed him. By the time we moved to Asheville, I was pregnant with Lily. I threw myself into motherhood, built a warm home, organized every company holiday party, and played the role of the perfect supportive wife. When Evan entered middle school, I got certified as a financial planner. It gave me flexibility and purpose, and, eventually, independence. For years, I believed we had a decent marriage. Yes, Matt could be arrogant and dismissive, but he provided for us. I told myself that counted for something. The first red flag came 8 years ago, a receipt for a luxury watch I'd never seen. He said it was for my birthday 4 months away. I swallowed my doubts. Then came perfume I didn't wear on his shirts. Weekend retreats that didn't match his calendar. Distant behavior. Each time I brought it up, he made me feel unhinged. You sound paranoid, Hannah. I work my ass off for this family. And I'd back off, doubting myself. But not anymore. Not this time. He thinks he emptied that account. But he forgot something. I handle the money. And I've got receipts. We had a beautiful home in the Grove Hill neighborhood, all tree-lined streets and country club neighbors. The kind of place where people waved while jogging and lawn services came twice a week. The kids were in private schools, we took vacations to Europe and Hawaii, and our holiday cards looked like something out of a luxury lifestyle magazine. On the surface, we were perfect. But last Christmas, something in me cracked. Matt had promised, repeatedly, that he'd be home for our traditional family dinner. The kids were excited, the table was set, and I'd cooked every dish from scratch. Then, 2 hours before he was supposed to land, he called. Flights canceled, he said flatly. Snowstorm in Chicago. Nothing I can do. but something felt off. That night, after Lily and Evan had gone to bed, I poured myself a glass of wine and checked the airline's website. Every flight that day had landed. No delays. No cancellations. It was the first time I had undeniable proof he'd lied to me. But I didn't confront him. Instead, I started watching, listening, taking notes. I saw how he kept his phone face down on the counter, how he'd suddenly excuse himself to take calls in the garage or outside, how he had a separate credit card I'd never seen the bill for, how his comments toward me shifted from indifferent to cruel, criticizing my clothes, my voice, even how I laughed at dinner with friends. One afternoon in February, I brought him a coffee while he was working from home. Just as I was about to knock, I heard him on the phone. "I'll figure it out, babe. She doesn't suspect anything." No, Hannah's not that smart. I didn't knock. I didn't breathe. I just stood there, my heart thudding in my ears. That was the moment everything changed. I wasn't going to cry or beg or demand answers. I wasn't going to play the role he'd written for me, the clueless wife, the loyal fool. I was going to make a plan. 6 weeks later, I was sitting in a quiet coffee shop downtown, across from Rick Landon, a former detective-turned-private investigator. I'd been referred by a lawyer friend from college, someone who said Rick was discreet, thorough, and had a nose for secrets. "Mrs. Brooks," he said, sliding a thick manila envelope across the table, "you were absolutely right about your husband." I opened it slowly. Inside were photos, dozens of them, each one more damning than the last. In one set, Matt was entering a boutique hotel with his head of marketing, the same woman he claimed he couldn't stand. In another, he was wrapped around a blonde in Seattle, kissing her outside a restaurant he'd told me he couldn't get reservations at for our anniversary. Rick cleared his throat. "That's not all. He's got a condo under an LLC registered to a shell company. Takes women there twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, regular as clockwork." I turned each photo over slowly, strangely calm. I should have been devastated. Instead, I felt vindicated. Like my instincts had finally been proven right. "And financially?" I asked. Rick nodded and pulled out another set of papers. "He's been moving money. Offshore. Small amounts for a while, but it's ramped up in the last year. He's building himself an escape hatch, one you won't be able to touch in court." That was the moment it really hit me. This wasn't just about infidelity. It was about destruction. He wasn't planning a breakup, he was planning my ruin. What are my options? I asked, my voice low, steady. Standard route? Lawyer up, gather evidence, brace for a long court battle. Or, he gave me a knowing look. If you're open to something more creative, I might have a few ideas. That night, I didn't sleep. I walked the halls of our perfect house, stared at the photos on the walls, and felt the rage simmering just below my skin. I thought about the years I'd spent building this life. The dinners, the diaper changes, the dreams I'd shelved. By sunrise, I had made a decision. I dropped the kids off at school, called in sick, drove straight to the bank, and opened an account in my name. I moved my commission checks into it, cut off auto transfers, pulled my name from the joint accounts. Step 1, take back control. Matt thought he was the only one planning an exit. He had no idea the storm that was coming. It wasn't much in the grand scheme of things, but it was a start. When I got home, I went straight to Matt's office, a space I usually avoided. It was pristine, impersonal. A few framed degrees from Duke and NYU. I ran my hands along the shelf, tapping for anything hollow or out of place. Behind his MBA diploma, I found it, a small black safe I had never seen before, tucked behind some outdated conference binders. It took me 3 tries to guess the code. Our anniversary? No. His birthday? Nope. Lily's birthday? Bingo. Inside was a trove of secrets, paperwork for the LLC Rick had mentioned, documents from banks in the Cayman Islands, and even a second passport issued under a variation of Matt's full name. I photographed everything carefully, making sure to return it exactly as I'd found it. My hands trembled, not from fear, but fury. Matt hadn't just betrayed me physically, he'd built a double life, one designed to abandon me and our children without a second thought. He'd been hiding money, building escape routes, covering his tracks with the cold efficiency of someone who never intended to look back. I sat at the kitchen island, staring out at the backyard, the swing set, the vegetable garden we planted one spring before Evan was born. Every corner of this house had memories, some beautiful, some bitter. But none of them were fake. Unlike him. I made my decision right then. I wasn't going to be just another casualty in Matt's exit strategy. I wasn't going to let him erase me from the story we built. I was going to write the ending myself. 2 days after I cracked the safe, I met with Olivia Perkins, Asheville's most formidable divorce attorney. Her office downtown was sleek and cold, glass walls, minimalist furniture, and a view that said she didn't lose cases. After reviewing my evidence, she gave a single, sharp nod. With what you've shown me, we can push for a favorable settlement. Likely 50% of the known assets. Known assets being the problem, I said. She leaned back. Exactly. If he's hidden money, and it looks like he has, then recovering it can be a legal nightmare. Courts move slowly. Money doesn't. What if I could prove where the money is before filing? I asked. Her eyes narrowed. That would change everything. But snooping into private financials without legal cause could create issues for you. You need proof, not suspicion. And you need to get it legally. When I got home, Matt was in his home office. Just seeing him there, casually sipping coffee and cheating me with every keystroke, made my stomach turn. Hey, he said without looking up. I need to go to New York next week. Big client meeting. I smiled, already knowing the client was a lie. How long? For maybe 5 days. He looked at me finally, brows slightly furrowed. You seem different. Everything okay? Just busy, I replied. Actually, I've been thinking of enrolling in a certification course, real estate specialty. Evening classes, 2 nights a week. His shoulders relaxed. He probably saw it as more time to carry on his affair without suspicion. Sure, he said. Whatever makes you happy. That was my opening. I called Rick that night. We met in a quiet park where no one would recognize me. I want to set a trap, I told him. Rick raised an eyebrow. What kind of trap? He always chases the same type, young, beautiful, ambitious. I want to hire someone to get close to him. Someone who can draw him out. You want a honey trap? He asked, skeptical. Hannah, that's risky. Could backfire. Not just anyone, I said. I want someone so flawless, so obviously after his money, that he'll spill everything just to impress her. And I want it all recorded. Rick hesitated, then nodded. I'll find someone. But understand, this may not hold up in court. That's fine, I said. I'm not just thinking about court anymore. 2 weeks later, Jasmine arrived. 22. Stunning. A struggling actress with enough charm and improv skills to rival anyone in Hollywood. She was perfect. I paid her from my private account. Bonuses for specific tasks. And just like that, Matt's ego walked straight into the trap. And I was just getting started. As the intelligence rolled in, Matt's behavior only got worse. He'd stopped even trying to hide his late nights and mysterious absences. Some days he didn't bother coming home until morning. Twice, he slipped and called me by someone else's name. Once it was Jenna, the other time Sierra. It was almost like he was daring me to confront him, like he wanted me to ask for a divorce on his terms, once he'd secured his exit plan. So I played the role. I grew quiet, distracted. I left real estate listings on the kitchen counter, accidentally, left my laptop open to apartment searches, dropped hints about starting over somewhere new. Every night, I logged Matt's comings and goings. I forwarded shady emails from our shared inbox to my private one. I cataloged financial transactions and built my case. Then came the text from Jasmine. He took the bait. Dinner tonight. We'll record everything. I should have felt triumphant. I should have been celebrating the fact that all my planning was finally paying off. But instead, I felt empty. Like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. Because this wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the realization that maybe it had never really been real to begin with. 3 months into the plan, Rick handed me a small USB drive. You'll want to listen to this in private, he said, his voice heavy. That night, after Lily and Evan had gone to bed, I plugged it into my laptop. Matt's voice filled the room. "She's such a fool," he said to Jasmine, laughing softly. 25 years, and she still thinks those business trips are real. Meanwhile, I've got accounts she doesn't even know exist. "How much have you stashed away?" Jasmine asked, her tone light, flirtatious. "Over 2 million, he replied. "By next month, closer to 3. All of it where she can't touch it." He went on to brag about the properties he'd bought under the LLC, the investments he made using money siphoned from our joint accounts, the offshore savings, the shell companies. He detailed how he planned to file for divorce once everything was secure. Then Jasmine asked, "What about your kids?" Matt's answer nearly stopped my heart. "They're almost grown. Hannah can keep custody, less child support that way. I'll send money for college directly to them. Makes me look like the generous dad while she struggles to keep the lights on." I had expected the financial betrayal. But the cold, casual cruelty, the way he talked about our children as if they were just numbers in a budget, that shook me to my core. Another recording played. This one from what sounded like the living room of his secret apartment. "We should go away," Matt said to Jasmine. "Maybe LA. I've got some connections, could set you up with auditions." "And your wife?" Jasmine asked. "I'm done with Hannah," he said. "Been done for years. Once I wrap up the Cayman accounts, we're free." Recording after recording, he laid out his entire strategy. In the most recent one, he explained exactly how he'd drain our accounts just before blindsiding me with divorce papers, leaving me financially paralyzed while he tied everything up in court. With the recordings in hand, I called an emergency meeting with Olivia and Rick. After listening, Olivia leaned forward, eyes steely. "We need to move." "He's close to making his move." "I don't want just a fair settlement," I said. My voice was cold, flat, even to my own ears. "I want him to lose everything." Rick glanced at Olivia. "There's a way," he said slowly. "But it's risky. You'll have to let him believe he's won." And so we made the plan. Jasmine would keep playing her part, feeding his ego, encouraging him to act fast. Meanwhile, I'd start unraveling, missing work, looking fragile, emotional, exactly the kind of woman Matt thought I was. Most importantly, I'd begin transferring small, traceable amounts from our joint account into a decoy account. One I wanted Matt to find. Because once he did, he'd think his plan was working. And that's when the real game would begin. "It's working," Olivia said with quiet satisfaction. "The goal is to make him act rashly. Men like Matt make mistakes when they think they're winning." The final piece came into place when Rick introduced me to Thomas Geller, a forensic accountant with a talent for sniffing out hidden wealth. "If the money's out there," Rick said, "Tom will find it." And he did. Within a few weeks, Thomas had unraveled the web of shell corporations, offshore transfers, and layered investment vehicles Matt had been using. The scope of his deception was staggering: $3.4 million hidden in various accounts, real estate across 3 states, and investments deliberately structured to slip through most audits. "He's clever," Tom said, flipping through his notes. "But not as clever as he thinks. He's left fingerprints everywhere." With that knowledge, the trap was finally ready. At our last planning session, I gave Jasmine her final instructions. "Get him to LA," I told her. "Make him believe it's his idea, but it needs to happen within the next 2 weeks." Jasmine gave a tight nod. "And once we're there?" "Disappear," I said. "Let him panic. Let him feel what it's like to be left empty-handed and alone. But most importantly, make sure he transfers a large sum to you first." Rick looked uneasy. "That's walking the line, Hannah. It borders on entrapment." "No," I said evenly. "It's called justice." Everything was aligned. I had quietly filed for divorce through Olivia the week before. The papers were ready to be served at the perfect moment. Thomas had compiled detailed records of every hidden dollar. Rick had documented enough evidence of Matt's infidelity to satisfy even the strictest judge. Jasmine was playing her part flawlessly. The night before Matt's planned escape, he came home late. I stayed in bed, feigning sleep, as he quietly packed his suitcase, slipping in watches, passports, and the expensive cufflinks he never wore anymore. In the morning, he hovered in the doorway. "I've got to fly out. Last-minute business trip." "How long?" I asked, keeping my voice soft, harmless. "Not sure. A week, maybe. Don't wait up." He didn't meet my eyes. As soon as the door closed behind him, I checked the account. $220,000 gone. Almost every last dollar in our joint savings. Our shared credit cards were maxed out. First-class tickets, luxury hotels, and no doubt a rented penthouse with a view. Hours later, I got the message I'd been waiting for. "I'm done with you. Moving to LA with my new girl. You'd better check our savings account. Have fun being broke." I typed back, "Good for you. Thumbs up." Then I set the next phase in motion. First, I called Lily and Evan, who were staying at my sister's for the weekend, to make sure they were okay. Next, I called Olivia, who immediately filed an emergency injunction to freeze all of Matt's known assets, citing financial fraud. By morning, his accounts, the ones we'd tracked, would be locked. But then came an unexpected complication. Just as I was dialing Rick to give an update, my phone rang. It was Jasmine, whispering, panicked. "He's acting weird," she said. "Keeps calling offshore banks. He's pacing, snapping at me, and keeps talking about someone following him. I think he's getting suspicious." My pulse jumped. Has he mentioned me or Rick? No, but he keeps saying he doesn't trust the current setup. He's talking about moving everything tonight. If Matt shifted his funds now, our carefully constructed paper trail would be worthless. The asset freeze hadn't kicked in yet. "We need him distracted," I said, pacing the living room. "Keep him calm. Get him talking about his future plans, dreams, investments, everything. Record it all." "Okay," Jasmine breathed. "I'll try." I hung up and immediately called Rick. "If he moves that money tonight," Rick said grimly, "we might lose everything. Is there any way to accelerate the asset freeze?" We were running out of time, and Matt was getting desperate. The storm we'd engineered was here. Now I had to make sure we controlled where it landed. "Can we freeze the assets now?" I asked urgently. "Not without a judge's signature," Olivia replied. "And at this hour? We're stuck." We were at an impasse. Months of planning, months of tracking, documenting, building this intricate web, and all of it could unravel because Matt was having a late-night crisis of paranoia. One impulsive wire transfer to a hidden offshore account, and it would all vanish. I paced my living room in silence, the hardwood cool under my bare feet, thinking. Then, a flicker of inspiration. I grabbed my phone and dialed Matt's number, fully expecting him to ignore it. That was fine, I only needed voicemail. "Matt, it's me," I began, layering my voice with just the right amount of anxiety. "I just got a call from American Express. Something about suspicious charges. I told them you're on a business trip, but they said they need to speak with you directly. Something about fraud protection." I hung up before I could second-guess myself. It wasn't much, but it might be enough. Even the most arrogant men pause when their money feels threatened. A potential freeze from a credit card company might spook him into laying low, at least until morning. Next, I texted Jasmine. Change of plans. Make him feel in control. Ask about his business success. Get him talking about himself. Jasmine, as always, delivered. Throughout the evening, she sent short, silent video clips of Matt, grinning, drunk on champagne and ego, bragging about his brilliant financial moves, completely unaware that his kingdom was about to fall. Most importantly, he wasn't making any more transfers. No bank calls. No sudden movement. By morning, the emergency asset freeze was officially in place. Matt's accessible accounts were locked, properties flagged under court review, and his sweet little escape route was starting to crack. But we had one final hurdle. For the plan to work, Matt had to realize he'd been played, but not too soon. If he figured it out before we secured the rest of the hidden funds, he could still outmaneuver us. "How do we time it right?" I asked Rick during our final call. "Leave it to me," he said. "I've got a contact in the LAPD who owes me a favor." The following evening, while Matt and Jasmine enjoyed an extravagant dinner at an upscale restaurant in Beverly Hills, two uniformed officers approached their table. According to Jasmine's text, Matt went pale the moment they introduced themselves. They didn't arrest him. That wasn't the goal. Instead, they calmly explained that his wife had reported a substantial withdrawal from their joint account and that they had a few questions regarding the matter. It was enough to plant the seed of panic, to make him start second-guessing everything. That night, while Matt passed out drunk in their hotel suite, Jasmine quietly packed her things and slipped out. She left a handwritten note on the bed. "I don't date broke men. P.S. Hannah says hello." By the time Matt woke up, alone, the entire structure of his perfect escape was in shambles. He returned to Asheville 3 days later, completely unraveling. He found the locks changed, his suitcase waiting in the garage, and divorce papers stacked neatly on top. When he called, full of rage, threats, and wounded ego, I calmly directed him to Olivia Perkins. Predictably, Matt hired Bernard Hoffman, one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in the state. Bernard was known for playing dirty, but even he couldn't compete with what we had. At our first court appearance, Matt swaggered in, flanked by Bernard, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. He smirked across the courtroom. That smirk faded the moment Olivia began presenting the evidence: detailed spreadsheets, property records, wire transfers, offshore holdings, all compiled legally by Thomas, our forensic accountant. And then came the audio. "Your Honor," Bernard sputtered, already sweating, "these recordings were obtained without my client's knowledge. They are inadmissible." Olivia didn't even blink. "Actually, Your Honor, all financial documents were obtained through legal channels following fraud alerts. As for the recordings, California is a two-party consent state. But..." She turned to the judge, calmly. "Every one of these conversations took place in public venues, where there is no expectation of privacy." Matt's empire, his carefully built house of cards, was collapsing. And I wasn't done yet. The judge's expression grew darker with each page he reviewed. Finally, he looked up, eyes hard behind his glasses. "Mr. Brooks," he said, his voice cutting through the courtroom. "These documents suggest a deliberate attempt to conceal marital assets. I'm extending the emergency freeze on all accounts and properties listed, pending further investigation." Matt's jaw tightened. His face flushed a deep red as he turned to glare at me. "You planned this," he hissed through clenched teeth. "You set me up." I didn't flinch. I met his gaze with calm, collected certainty. "No, Matt," I replied. "You set yourself up the moment you decided to steal from your own family." A hush fell over the courtroom. Then Olivia rose, expression impassive, and played a series of carefully selected recordings. Matt's voice echoed through the speakers, smug and unfiltered, detailing how he'd secretly funneled millions through offshore accounts while preparing to leave his children and me with nothing. There was no spin, no out-of-context defense. Just cold, cruel facts. Later, in the hallway outside the courtroom, Matt stormed up to me, fury burning in his eyes. "Where's the girl?" he demanded. "Where's Jasmine?" I raised an eyebrow, cool as ever. "Jasmine?" I repeated. "Oh, you mean the actress I hired? She's back in her theater program. I believe she got an A on her final assignment." The flicker of realization that crossed his face, the way his anger twisted into confusion, then shame, was worth every penny I had spent. After that first hearing, everything moved quickly. The judge, disgusted by Matt's premeditated financial betrayal, ruled overwhelmingly in my favor. In addition to an even split of all known assets, he ordered the return of all hidden funds Matt had tucked away, funds now frozen and flagged thanks to Thomas's work and the court's rapid intervention. The final divorce settlement was staggering. I was awarded our family home, 70% of all recovered assets, totaling nearly $4 million, primary custody of Lily and Evan, and a child support package that ensured stability for years to come. Matt? He was left with the small apartment he'd purchased through his LLC, the one he thought I'd never find, and whatever income he could salvage. His company, upon learning of the investigation and the court case, placed him on unpaid leave while they launched an internal review. His carefully crafted image, the charismatic executive, the polished provider, crumbled as former colleagues quietly distanced themselves. 6 months after the WhatsApp message that changed everything, I sat across from Olivia and Rick in my living room. The fire crackled in the hearth. A bottle of champagne sat between us, half empty. "I've never seen someone so thoroughly outplayed," Olivia said with a grin, raising her glass. "He never saw it coming," Rick added, nodding. "Most people in your situation either fall apart or blow up their own case. You? You played the long game." I smiled, warmth blooming in my chest for the first time in what felt like years. "I had good teachers," I said, "and a very deserving student." Later that evening, as the kids worked on homework upstairs, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Matt. "You won. Happy now?" I stared at it for a long moment, then locked my phone and set it face down on the table. There was nothing left to say. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up the commercial real estate listings I'd bookmarked earlier. With my settlement, I was opening my own brokerage firm, focused on helping women build financial independence through property investment. Matt's betrayal had cut deep. But what it unearthed within me, the fire, the resilience, the drive, was priceless. I had built something stronger. Something lasting. Just then, Lily appeared in the doorway. "Mom, are you okay?" I looked up and smiled, genuine and full of light. "I'm better than okay, sweetheart," I said, closing the laptop gently. "I'm free. If you've made it this far, thank you. Really, from the bottom of my heart. You've walked with me through betrayal, through silence, through rage and strategy, and ultimately, freedom. I didn't just share this story for closure. I shared it for you, for every person out there who's been lied to, overlooked, or made to feel small in their own life. So here's my call to you. Stand with me. Comment below and tell me, what would you say to a woman like me, who clawed her way back from the edge with nothing but grit, evidence, and a fierce love for her children? Let your voice be louder than the lies I was fed for years. If you see strength in me, say so, because someone else reading the comments might need that strength for themselves. And to anyone walking through a betrayal of their own, don't shrink. Strategize. Cry if you need to, then document everything. Find your allies. Think long-term. Revenge fades, but building a new life on your own terms? That's the kind of justice that echoes. What happened to me could happen to anyone, but how I responded. That's a choice. You have that same power. You're not stuck. You're not too late. You're not weak for wanting more. So if my story lit a fire in you, don't let it burn out. Use it. Fuel your next step, whether that's asking questions, opening a secret savings account, or just daring to believe you deserve better. Because you do. And if no one else has told you today, I see you. I believe you. And you're stronger than you think. Let's rise together.